All right, we are live, and the NLDS starts on Saturday. We got so many different matchups to go on. The Phillies swept the Marlins in the wild card round, and so we will be facing the juggernaut Braves. Fellas, some initial thoughts on the Phillies Braves NLDS series.
Clearly, it's over. I'm probably not going to bother watching it because they got to go against the 27 Yankees. So, what's the point? Isn't that the end of the stream?
Yeah, we're done.
Odds wise, the Diamondbacks are the biggest dogs, and then it's the Phillies.
Well,
So,
the Diamondbacks probably not it.
Vegas wise.
Neither of them might be bad bets, in all honesty. But
the Diamondbacks, I think last time I checked, they were plus 175 to win the series against the Dodgers, and the Phillies are plus 155 against the Braves. So we're the two top dogs. So we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
Maybe you should introduce everyone who's watching. Introduce everyone. Nobody knows who anyone is. Who are all these guys? These four random dudes on the Wesker Griff channel. You outshine us all. So.
Well, we got the Philly guys here. This is the Philly fan enclave. We got Reese, ND Card Ranger. We got Ray from Clifton Heights, a.k.a. Ray from Philly. We got Mike O from Richboro, a.k.a. Mike O. And then we got Alex Bowman 53 from the sunny
somewhere
beaches
else
from the state of Georgia. From the state of Georgia, but originally from Pennsylvania. So I'm in enemy territory.
Stay safe.
You are deep behind enemy lines, sir.
Yeah. It's all good. Not worried about it.
Well, that's an interesting. Well, I totally forgot you're from Georgia. I mean, you're living in Georgia right now, Alex. So, what's the conversation down there about the potential the NLDS matchup? What do you?
I'm not hearing anything. Honestly, I don't live in Atlanta, so I'm sure there's a lot of people talking about it there. But there's not a lot of chatter where I am. It's not the same. No offense to really any other fan base, but Philadelphia fans are a different breed. And I'm not hearing anything.
Well, we can all hang out when we fly down to watch a game, since it is cheaper to fly to and from Atlanta and to buy a pair of tickets than it is to buy a single ticket to Game 3. Not as cheap as it would have been to go to Tampa Bay, but
$30.
Yeah, can we just briefly touch on that? I know we got some Rays fans in the community, and I know there's definitely some diehard Rays fans out there. Shout out to the Fox crew. But 19,000 people at a playoff game, come on now.
Disgrace.
It's just not a good look. It's just a really bad look.
Lowest attendance minus 2020, where obviously there were no fans, since 1919.
I don't
Absolute
know. I think
disgrace.
they had more fans. I think they had more fans in 2020 with the cardboard cutouts.
They might have, but no. In all honesty, I thought that was embarrassing and an absolute disgrace. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be strong fans everywhere. There's diehard fans everywhere. So it's nothing against any specific fan, but I saw all these people because people were complaining about it on Twitter. Are you kidding me? And all these people in Tampa were with these litany of ridiculous excuses, oh, kids are in school, people have work, it's a 3:00 game. Every Rays playoff game forever has been at 3:00. You're not getting a national TV game unless you're playing the Yankees. We didn't get much notice. It's hard to get to it. I'm dude, you're full of shit. You got 19,000 people there. It's a joke. It's embarrassing. And quite honestly, they should tear up the papers and the plans for the new stadium, and they should move. That's embarrassing. Yeah. 19,000. Are you kidding me? That's an absolute joke. You're telling me there's not 20,000 people in that area that could have taken off from work to go see a playoff baseball game? And again, it's not $300 tickets. There were tickets available for $20, $30, $40.
Wow.
It's an absolute joke. It's an utter embarrassment. And
Especially-
the fact that the Rays actually put out thank you fan things on social media today, they should have been like, screw you assholes. We put together a decent team that gets to the postseason, and you don't even show up. That was a disgrace. And quite honestly, the team played horrifically defensively. They didn't pitch well and they didn't hit at
Sloppy.
all. But I mean, are you kidding me? That was like watching a AAA game late in the season. That was an absolute and utter joke. And
Yep.
I think I got it off my chest now. So sorry to take over the stream for a minute.
I blame the Devil Ray jerseys. I don't know why they wore those Devil Ray jerseys. Burn
that
those
was-
jerseys.
That was a bad decision.
I'm telling you, they should have had the first ever dollar dog playoff night. They could have got more people in that stadium.
I think what makes it even worse is that franchise, in terms of how they operate, is really admirable. Like, they do a great job of making that team a contender despite the circumstance. And you would think that enough would rally a fan base to be like, hey, like, we've got one of the best teams in baseball, and we don't do it by spending a lot of money. Like, let's get behind this team. But no, like, it's still nothing happens.
Oh, the franchise is fantastic. The front office, for what they get, the ownership, I'm sure they're cheap skates and tightwads. And of course, it's going to get worse now that the one time they actually open up their pocketbooks and spent real money, God knows what's happening with that player. That's a whole topic for the off season. But like the franchise, the players, the coaching staff, development, they've done a great job. But the fan base, like, what a joke. And I say that to the fan base as a whole, obviously,
Florida in general has done bad. Even the Marlins.
Oh,
Curse
yeah.
of Wander Franco,
Marlins
man.
are awful,
Curse of
too.
Wander Franco.
It's the curse of Quentin McCracken or something. I don't know.
Well, the other series, when I started this stream, I didn't think I would get a Quentin McCracken shout out, but here we are. We got a Quentin McCracken shout out on the live stream. The other series, though, Diamondbacks, Brewers. The Brewers really blew this one because their whole strength, their whole identity is their starting pitching and their bullpen. Corbin Burns, first game, 3-0 lead. They stake him. The offense gives him 3 runs, and he just completely crumbled against the Diamondbacks. Did any of you guys watch that series or have any thoughts on how the Brewers their pitch just got trashed by Carroll, Kettle Marte, Pilmington's boy, the whole trove of the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, that Diamondbacks team is a very young team, and they're playing fearless right now. It's like they don't realize what they're doing or where they're at because they're so young, but they're playing fearless baseball right now. Like, they don't even know what they're doing, and they're fast. I mean, they're on fire right now. They're hot.
Yeah, that was a weird series because you'd watch the first few innings and then it was like laser focus on the Phillies, but I would still kind of follow what was going on, flip. Every now and then I'd put it on my phone, towards the end of the game. But you said it. I mean, Corbin Burns, the fake Cy Young Award winner from a few years ago, weaseled his way into that. That was bogus. It should have been Zach Wheeler, but that's besides the point. He came up small, obviously. And guys are gonna, and that's the problem with a short series. That's the trouble, and that's the worry with it. One bad inning, 2 bad innings can cost you a series, and the fact that he couldn't hold that lead, and then Devin Williams, who's been really good this year, really good the last few years, was awful as well. And once they lost Game 1, I mean, that was a game that the Brewers had to win, especially with the starter they went. You kind of knew they were in trouble. The Diamondbacks were an easy bet yesterday with the starting pitching. Yeah, so that's it with the best of 3
The D-backs
series.
just had
Can be real
runners
quick.
on every single inning. I felt like they had 2 runners on every single inning for a team that's like built on starting pitching and like an insanely good bullpen. They just floundered pretty badly. The Brewers.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks got a lot of good young players, and I don't think they'd be real pleasant to play in the postseason, to be honest. Like, if I were the Dodgers, obviously you feel pretty good about your team, but I wouldn't take anything for granted.
Well,
And I did not
starting
see that
Game 1.
coming. I had the Brewers. I had the Brewers win that series easily, especially considering how poorly the Diamondbacks played against the Astros. But now it's looking like maybe the Diamondbacks were strategic in who they wanted to play maybe in the wild card, and they just didn't try as hard against the Astros because they were meaningless games for them.
There was a report someone had posted earlier in the day. I saw they said I forget what reporter it was, but an anonymous Diamondbacks player said, "We're glad we weren't in Philadelphia." So maybe they threw that series, or maybe the Astros are involved in another scandal and paid off the organization. I don't know. I'm sure Ed wouldn't keep that up.
That's it.
Get you.
More fuel for the hate train. And then we got the American League, the Twins. The Twins finally made some history. They finally snapped the streak. They finally won a playoff series.
Congrats
Holy
to Destemic.
Love it. Yes.
Oh my God! The last time was 2002. The Nationals didn't even exist back then.
Wow.
Good
I
Lord!
wonder how many players in Major League
Sam-
Baseball weren't even born.
A lot.
Right?
Suncoast was still in the mall.
Suncoast Video.
Those were the days.
Well, Verlander's been announced to start Game 1. Minnesota hasn't announced who they're starting in Game 1 yet.
God, I want to see the Twins win so bad. Please beat the Astros. That's all I'm saying.
Please.
I think I can speak for everyone on the panel here by saying that.
Yeah, Carlos Correa, he seems to come up big in certain moments. Like, he didn't have a great year, but
Postseason.
yeah, he's a postseason player. He proved that in Houston. So yeah, Minnesota's got a good shot.
They got a good 1-2 punch though in Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray. I mean, if those guys are on, I mean, we know Pablo Lopez from the Marlins. He always pitched really good. So, and he had a really great year this season. I think he led the American League in strikeouts. So, I mean, they do got some really solid pitching. And then if Royce Lewis gets hot, I mean, they could be a little dangerous.
I was going to say their offense was pretty good late in the year. It was just a matter of can they stay healthy. That is like Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa were like off and on hurt constantly. They'd be healthy for a week, go on the 10-day IL, come back for 12 days, back on the 10-day IL. So maybe Buxton will be back. I'm not really sure. Royce Lewis, obviously an emerging star if he can stay healthy. So it's fun to see some of these teams, get some of that national attention.
Yeah.
All right. I think we touched on every wild card series except for the Phillies Marlins. But very impressive. I mean, for me as a Phillies fan, I know we always have issues with the Marlins. I mean, we did play good against them this year, but I would say the last couple seasons we've kind of struggled against them. But the way we won in Game 1 and 2, especially Game 2, how dominant we were, the fact that Wheeler and Nola both dominated the Marlins lineup, and Nola has his documented struggles against the Marlins. And the fact that we were facing two solid left-handed pitchers who normally, especially Jesus Lizard, we struggle against him. I was very, very impressed by how we handled the Marlins.
Yeah, during the regular season, the Marlins were 4-0 against the Phillies in games started by Braxton Garrett and Jesus Luzardo. So it's not – the Phillies won, it went perfect for them. And I went into the series thinking the Phillies could win, kind of feeling pretty good that they would win, but also knowing, again, it's a short series, literally one defensive mistake, one blow up by one member of the bullpen, one guy just not having his stuff in the starting staff. One day of the lineup not hitting could end up being the difference, but kind of all facets did their job really, really well. So it was nice.
I like seeing the young players. I mean, Rojas, even Pache, Stott, Bohm, they all contributed. So that was awesome because you didn't have Harper doing much. He had the awesome, running through the sign at third, but bat-wise, it was all over the place. Everyone was contributing, which was really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, it's nice seeing. I'm a big fan of Johan, man. He's one of, he reminds me a lot of Andrew Jones from back 20, 30 years ago. The way he plays center field it is, and he's still getting bigger. Like he's got some room to fill out a little bit more. I think he's going to be really something special. He's defensively, he's fantastic.
He's one of the best. With him in center and either, they put Pache in left or. The confidence there is so much different than having Schwarber out there.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
It's like night and day. You're like, okay, we're good now.
And even having Marsh on the bench, when they need to put him on the bench, it's like I can live with that. I mean, I Marsh is awesome, but the fact that they can put Pache out there and get good defense, and I mean, he's shown to me in this series that he belongs with this team and he's contributing. I'm feeling really good about the outfield in general.
And what's amazing is that literally for years, they had no major league center fielders. Like we had to live with Odubel Herrera, who was a bozo on the base paths, a bozo in the outfield, a bozo off the field, and literally had maybe had one half of a good season offensively. He could get hot, but like they had no one to play center, and all of a sudden they have three of the better defensive center fielders in baseball all on one team where, the young guy comes up. It's not like they brought him up because Marsh or Pache were struggling in center. He was just that good. They decided he was ready. They brought him up. And it's like the fact that he's hitting, he's kind of like that Kevin Stocker from 93 where he comes up for the defense and he gives you something offensively. And they think he could be a good offensive player in the future. It just wasn't expected this year. And he's, he hit right around 300, right? And he's been contributing.
Think about it. 2 years ago, we were hoping Mickey Moniak would be our center fielder, right? It's like, so.
Yeah.
Even Castellanos has played last year defensively. Remember some of the plays Nicky made defensively last year against Atlanta, too. He saved the game in the playoffs, and he's been his defense.
The ring finger.
I can't do that.
No, I was going to say that's impressive because that's the hardest finger to hold.
That's a really hard finger.
Thumbs up is easy. Pointing is easy. That is easy. That is easy. That's tough.
That's a real tough one. But he's been playing defensively. I can't believe how much better he's gotten defensively. He's made some really spectacular plays.
Oh God, BBC, a little bit microaggression over here. Can you guys talk about how Michael Parsons is going to break Jalen Hurts?
Football season is paused right now, so
yeah, we're in baseball mode. We'll do a football stream later.
But yeah, I think defensively,
I think one of the keys
is much better.
I think one of the keys for this Braves series, though, the Phillies Braves series, is going to be the stolen base department. I know I've been hammering this all year long, but like the Braves, that's like a big part of the Braves' identity is just creating chaos on the base paths. And Acuna, as we all know, just got 70 stolen bases and 40-70, the first 70-40 player. So
yeah.
JT, out of all the catchers in the league, is still throwing out runners at a okay clip, but most catchers now aren't really throwing out too many runners because stolen bases are up all across the board across MLB. So I think the stolen base department is going to be whoever controls that and can manufacture that is going to be a huge key to win the series. If they can keep Acuna off base and they can keep Ozzy Albies off base and some of their prevalent stolen base guys, and if we can get our guys on there, like Turner, Rojas, Stott, that's going to be a difference maker. And the Phillies need to be aggressive on the base paths.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we can match them with Turner's a good base runner. Harper is an aggressive base runner. You know, we need to get rid of Dusty Wathan at third base coach. And
oh boy,
you know, he made 2 bad calls the other night.
Yeah.
But we got good base runners to match up with him, and I feel pretty confident with JT. Still has a cannon for an arm. Now, what's helped a lot of the base runners are the pizza boxes this year. So You know,
Well, that and the pitch clock, you can really time it.
yeah, and
pretty
you can't
well.
throw over more than
So many
twice.
strikes, yeah.
Like, how many attempts are you allowed to make? So that's helped out a lot too. So
See, this is
there's
where
going
it's
to
going to
be
be tricky
steals.
though for the Phillies. This is going to be
Yeah.
the real tricky part though for the Phillies because our bullpen. Let's be honest. There's a lot of guys in the pen, especially Kimbrel and Alvarado.
Especially
come to mind.
Kimbrel.
They
Yeah.
cannot hold on runners to save their lives.
Kimbrel
So
pretty
if-
much ignores the
Yeah, he
runners.
doesn't even seem to like consider
Yeah,
it.
he doesn't even look at them.
Yeah, he just
I was
balks
lis-
them over.
I was listening to the radio broadcast, and Scott Fransky was saying, man, how he was really ripping Kimbrel, how he just ignores it. There was a guy on third halfway down the line, and he's just not even looking. Not even like looking. He's yeah, Ed's right. I mean, Kimbrel's a worrisome with anybody on base. They might not use him to close just for that reason.
Yeah,
So,
because I'm thinking late inning, and the late innings they usually roll with Alvarado and Kimbrel. Even Alvarado being a left-hander, you would think he would be able to hold on runners good, but he's kind of delivered to the mound.
right.
Where I'm thinking if it's like, okay, if Acuna's over there or Albies, they're not going to really be able to hold on that runner. So
Right.
whoever walks, you can't walk guys. Singles are going to turn to doubles. So it's just going to be really interesting to see that dynamic. In a way, you could say maybe JT Realmuto will be the most important Philly in this series if he can throw out runners, which I do believe he will be able to throw out some of the Braves, but they are going to get their stolen bases.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, still
But I
bases,
think offensively
whatever.
we're pretty evenly matched.
I mean, one of the things that I was really encouraged by with Nola last night was he seems to have this MO of falling apart at one point or another. There's just this inning where like everything just falls apart. But he held his own last night, and there were actually like a handful of double plays. Where he got the guy to keep the ball on the ground. The defense took care of it. And to me, that was like a mental thing he got over, and I'm hoping that sticks with him. Like he had a good curveball. Like if those guys can just, make the plays, back them up, and don't walk anybody, go ahead and steal bases. But if they can just like bear down, they'll be all right.
See, that's the thing. Last night, why he was successful is because he got his curveball over. He's thrown too many pitches this year. He should be the last two starts of the year he was getting better because he just cut out the curveball because he's been hanging a lot of curves this year where he's just been throwing two-seamer, four-seamer, and a changeup. Keep it simple. And he had two starts at the end of the year where he just cut out the curve and he pitched so much better. And then I saw him throw a lot of curves last night. I was like, here we go. But luckily he didn't hang any.
Yeah.
I like to see him just drop it and just stick with three pitches. There's been announcers that said he has way too many pitches and it's just too many for him. He needs to simplify it more and just go fastball, four-seam, two-seam, change up. That's it. His curveball has been very erratic this year.
They did say he also made a tweak to his delivery. He opened up more because he was crossing over and causing his pitches to go off. So he opened up a little bit more in the last three starts. So, that it's mental, but maybe that also helped him mentally.
Little things, definitely. Little things like that help big time. I mean, you saw guys like Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson when they first came up in the majors. Nolan Ryan was falling off the mound to his left, and he was wild until he had a pitching coach when he went to the Angels, fixed that where he was more straight, and then he was, kept control. And then Randy Johnson had the same thing. So little things like that where the guy has an arm. Nola has an arm. He's got great movement on his stuff, but mechanics sometimes could be the issue. And it's his three pitches are great. It's that curveball where if he has no location on that, forget it. All you have to do is look at his first two curveballs. If he's hanging them, forget it.
You're in trouble.
You're done for that night.
Or that inning, at least.
Yeah, for that inning. But you get tough in the beginning if his curveball's hanging.
Yeah,
Which we're looking at probably. I don't. The Phillies did not announce, but I'm assuming it's going to be.
I would think
Ranger
Suarez.
is going to be
Yeah.
their. It's going to be
It's,
their.
it's
game
probably
one
going to be.
start.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Suarez,
Wheeler, and
Nola,
Nola.
and then they'll
The
probably
fourth
just
game,
repeat
it
the
depends.
process.
I would think
There's
the
a lot of
fourth
days
game,
off in this series.
Yeah, there's weird how in
Yes.
between 1 and 2, there's a day off. I don't know why
Yeah,
there's not a game Sunday. But game 4, I think it depends on where we're at. If we're down 1-2, they're going to go someone's going to go on short rest.
Yes.
But if we're up 2-1, they might use a fourth pitcher. Like, I don't know who's Walker. I don't know who the fourth pitcher
Please,
would be.
Christopher Sanchez. No Taiwan Walker. We've talked about the Nola blow up inning. Taiwan Walker.
Yeah.
Like if Taiwan Walker
Yeah.
comes into a game, you can bet a lot that he's going to give up 3 or 4 runs in that first inning. He'll be the best pitcher in baseball history after that. But he just that first inning, he sucks.
His
His
first
ERA was
inning's
7
bad.
this year in the first inning.
In the first
That's a
inning,
joke.
yeah. And he's had 15 wins this year.
Crazy.
That's a lot of wins.
It's the most wins on the Phillies.
Yeah, he's had 15
but I mean,
wins.
You know, this is going to be a really good series, I think, and it's going to take a total team effort. Like what they did against the Marlins is what they need to do. The lineup needs to hit because the Braves lineup is really good. They
Top to
tied the
bottom.
record for the most home runs in baseball history. Like they hit
No
home
easy
runs
out there.
across the lineup, you know, from top to bottom. Their starting staff is questionable, but I mean, Spencer Strider, outside of the playoff game last year, which was obviously the biggest game he ever pitched against the Phillies, I think 9 career starts against the Phillies in the regular season. He's 8-0 with a ridiculously low ERA. Like the Phillies don't ever hit Spencer Strider except for when Rhys Hoskins blew him up in that playoff game.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, there's a question mark. There's a question with you know, a big question with what's his name? Oh, what the hell's wrong with me?
Fried?
Max Fried.
Yeah, Max Fried. He was pitching to simulate a game with a Band-Aid over
He has
his
that blister.
his blister, and obviously when they play, he's not going to be able to wear a Band-Aid. So there's a question with that. I think
there's
Braves
something more
bullpen.
there.
The Braves
How do
bullpen
you have a
doesn't really
blister for
scare
like 2
me.
months?
I
Braves
mean,
bullpen stinks. think
but their
their bullpen
lineup's really
stinks.
good. So the Phillies bullpen's going to have to be good. Like you can't. Late in September, they went through that stretch where like 7 of 13 games they were giving up game tying or go ahead home runs. Now they won a number of those games because the offense kept fighting, but like you cannot afford that against a team like the Braves. Kimbrel scares me to death against a lineup like the Braves, to be honest. There's other guys in the bullpen I feel a little better with. And then the lineup's got to hit. They got to continue to hit and just kind of keep putting pressure. You know, they're going to need some power, but they're also going to have to just kind of keep hitting, moving base runners, stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun for sure. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know what Carlisle's in the chat, what he thinks, but I did see a lot of chatter online today. A lot of people complaining about the way the bracket's set up, saying, first of all, I think a lot of people, just in general, casual fans, would love to see this matchup in the NLCS in the 7-game series. But a lot of people are saying it's kind of, I don't know, a weird format that the Phillies and Braves are playing. Like the Braves had the best record in baseball, and the Dodgers are playing the lower seed. Plus, they're both divisional matchups, which is weird too. It seems like it's less of an advantage.
They were saying that today on MLB Network, where they should have reseeded after the wild card, where the 2 teams should not be in the same division. Diamondbacks shouldn't be playing the Dodgers. The Phillies shouldn't be playing the Braves. They should reseed. And I think it's unfair. I think they should reseed, absolutely. But back to the series coming up, there's 2 things where I think the Phillies have a slight advantage, and when it comes to playoff time, you look for any advantage. Number 1, and a lot of people might not take too much stock into this, but I do, is the Braves had a long layoff.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think that's anything big. Yes. I do think it's big.
It totally is.
And it's hard to get amped back up. Like they've been off 6 days by the time this Saturday comes. We're going to be off too, but we're only going to be off 2 days, and we're have a little bit more momentum. So we have that going for us, and like I said, with 6 days off with them is going to be a little bit rusty and slow. So you might be able to get out a little early on Strider. I'm assuming Strider is going to start, and maybe get 2, maybe 3 runs against him, and hope that you can get to their bullpen. Suarez to me is going to give up 4 or 5 runs. So I'm looking by the 6th inning, it's going to be like a 5-3 Braves lead. And then it's going to be a battle of the bullpens, and anything can happen there. But that layoff, and the second thing is the Phillies are in the Braves' head. The Braves don't want to play the Phillies, even though on their lineup on paper they blow us away. I don't care. This is one of the greatest lineups I've ever seen in my life. From Ozuna, Alzi Albies, Acuna, Olsen, it's stacked. But the Phillies are in the Braves' head. If they don't want to play us, it's like the Marlins used to be in our head before this year. We used to hate playing the Marlins. They could be the worst team in the league, and they owned us because they were in our heads. It's kind of the same right now for the Phillies and the Braves. So between the layoff and us being someone in their head, you might steal game 1. All you got to do is split the 2 games in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's pretty much a
agree.
must to win one of those games.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not over until someone wins 3, but you absolutely want to split one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, the Braves are making adjustments based on last year. That's why they're playing these simulated games. They're doing it with fans to give it as much of a real feel as it can have.
Yeah.
But obviously, you can't match the intensity of the actual games, which the Phillies just participated in. So we'll see. Absolutely, the lineup needs to be patient. They need to work. You got to get, a guy like Strider out. You don't want him having real easy 8-pitch innings and, extending him in the 7th and 8th inning. You'd love to get his pitch count up and, 5 and get out.
For sure.
They did that
And
well
Max
against
Fried-
Luzardo.
Max Fried last year when we faced him was sick, if I'm not mistaken. He had the flu or something,
That's
and now
right.
with this blister thing, and the fact that again we're kind of in his head, playoff time is going to hold the ball a little tighter. I take a lot of factor in being in the team's head when you've played very well against them over the past few years, and the fact that layoff, I mean, the first 2 times at bat for them could be flat, and we got to jump out early. If it's like 0-0 or 1-0 or something like it, it's forget it. But we got to jump out early and take advantage of the layoff.
I mean, I keep wondering why like the Braves. We were joking about it when you started that, like, why even play the series? Let's just give them the trophy now. Except everybody kind of glosses over. I don't mean you guys, but I mean like in the press and stuff. It's like, oh, and their pitching's a little questionable. It's like, hold on a second, their pitching's questionable, and they have a really shitty bullpen. I mean, how is it that we're just giving them the trophy? I mean, to me, that's one thing. The other thing is, I think this Phillies team is way better than the team last year, and like that lineup to me, like everybody should be terrified of our lineup. Like
they are.
Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, like those guys are way better than they were last year. There's way more confidence. I mean, look at what Stott did last night.
Castellanos is night and day different too.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and you
up
have
and
Trey
down that
Turner.
lineup, like we could fucking murder, pardon my French, the Braves. Like I'm
agreed,
feeling
yeah.
optimistic. I'm feeling really optimistic.
Yeah, I think the first game is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be like an 8-6 game. Suarez has given up quite a few, and I think if we can get 2 or 3 against Strider and then get to the bullpen, I could see this being like an 8-6 game.
Well, that's
With
what
the
it
layoff.
was last year, wasn't it? Like 8-7 or 9-7.
Yeah.
The Braves scored a few runs. Olsen, I think, hit a home run late,
Yeah.
but the Phillies survived it.
But Ed's right. Alex is right. Our lineup this year is better than last year. With the addition of Trey Turner, and thank God we have this good version now of Turner from August till now. I mean, he's just killing it.
Yeah,
This is
I mean, that
baseball
being said,
classic
like
Turner.
the Braves are also better in a lot of ways. Ronald Acuna last year, if you remember in the playoff. First of all, last year he was kind of a shell of himself. He was coming back from the knee surgery. He was never the same player. This year, he's most likely the MVP. He's been incredible this year. I mean, he was daydreaming a lot last year too. He was horrific defensively and such. I would think he'd be a little more focused in this year. So, I mean, obviously Matt Olson, just an incredible season with the 54 home runs. So, but if the pitching's got to do their job, of course. Like, pitching is obviously a key, executing, and you're going to give up home runs to the Braves. You just need to do it when there's no one on base.
Yeah,
you can't
They need to be solo shots.
you can't get any situations where you walk 2 or 3 guys, or you give up a hit, you walk a guy, and then boom, the 3-run shot. That's what's going to hurt you.
What it's going to come down to is mental errors. The team with the most mental errors is going to lose. You saw with John Birdie last night getting kicked off. Like, I don't see guys on the Braves or Phillies doing that. So, yeah, we could say the pitching and the hitting. I think it's going to come down to defense. And if someone's going to make a bad mistake or throwing into the wrong relay man or, wild pitches or dropping the ball in the out, I think it's coming down to defense, because lineup for lineup and pitching for pitching is pretty close, in my opinion. I think it's going to come down to mental errors. Whoever is going to make a mental error is going to lose. Tampa Bay was sloppy, and base running errors. Dusty Wathan scares the crap out of me. It's things like that, like base running errors is where
you got
no
no shot. Go. You're going to score easy. Stop.
You saw what Vladimir Guerrero got picked off because he said the crowd was so loud he couldn't hear the third base coach telling him to get back. Totally inexcusable. You need to have your head in the game and not worry about the crowd. Crowd's got to cheer. He's got to be able to pay attention and know when to get back. It's things like that. Base running errors. The hitting and the pitching is matched same, in my opinion. It's going to be stupid things like base running errors.
More and more teams, though, are just trying to steal because I believe I read a stat somewhere that said in this wild card round, between all the matchups, there were more stolen bases in this wild card round alone than all the postseason last year, all the combined postseason last year.
Jesus!
So teams are looking to steal. I can't undersell how much the wheels are just going to be off. And we saw it with the Phils. How easily did Turner steal those bases against the Marlins? I mean, he was already on the bag before the ball even got there. So that's what I mean. With the Braves, the Braves' identity is obviously hitting the long ball. I mean, they have Olsen, who led all of baseball in home runs, and then you got Acuna. You got a lot of boppers in that lineup. But another one of their key identities is the fact that they just steal a shitload of bases. So,
Reese, I got a question.
Definitely got to limit the damage there.
Reese, in our little group chat that we're in with Ed, what's the over/under on how many times during this series Ed is going to say, "Take the concrete shoes off, take the cement shoes off"?
I would say,
over/under 37 and a half.
Yeah, I'm going over, buddy.
That's because the way I view it is anytime Turner, the 3 automatics, anytime Turner, Rojas, or Stott get on first, boom. Yeah. Just take off on the first
Pache too. He could,
JT's got some pretty decent speed too. He can steal a bag.
He does. Yeah.
I think that's why it goes back to what Mike said. To me, it's about the pitchers have to be efficient, and you cannot walk in this series. We have to limit those because they're going to be all over the bases. And with these offenses, it scares me to death. So I'm curious.
And it's going to be intense. Unlike this last round, obviously Philadelphia was off the charts ridiculous. That was by far the best crowd. The Twins crowd was really good. The Rays crowd, they're still at home. And then the Milwaukee crowd, I think, was okay. But this is going to be the first round where you get to see both teams. And I do think the Braves fans, obviously, they've been drawing well this year. It's going to be intense and wild there. I do think once it gets back to Philadelphia, as long as the Phillies come back with at least a split, it's going to be – regardless, it's going to be off the charts. But if they come back with a split, it's going to be absolutely insane for that Game 3.
Now I'm getting nervous already. Come on, man.
Hey, you got a couple days to relax and forget it's happening. And then that day, it's all right.
Yeah.
You got little maybe around 48 hours to just relax a little bit. The
Little
chat, real baseball collector was in here earlier, and I know Steve's been asking for it as well. Uh, they want to talk about Rangers Orioles. What do we think about that series? Now, the Rangers,
Orioles, baby.
the games are at the first two games are at Camden Yards. I mean, the Rangers are going to be in for a surprise because Oriole fans are starving. I mean, that place is going to be jam packed. It's going to be rocking. It's not going to be like in Tampa Bay where there was 19 people, like, and there was nobody there. So it's the crowd. I think they might be in for a surprise with the crowd because they could get very, very loud down there at Camden Yards. But that should definitely be an interesting series. I didn't expect the Rangers to get to the ALDS. I thought the Rays would win, but so I was wrong there, underestimating them. But it should. It's real. I've said it before. I don't know if I might have said it in the chat. I don't know if I said it on my channel. It's hard to predict what a young team's going to do like the Orioles because there's just so many young players on their team. You don't know how they're going to do in a post. Yeah, and on the bigger stage in the postseason. So it's always kind of an unknown factor. Like, how's Adley Rutschman going to do? And how's Gunnar Henderson going to do? And Mountcastle. All these guys. Yeah, all these guys haven't been in the postseason yet. And some players shine in those moments and some players completely crumble in those moments. So, I mean, on
their
paper,
pitching, their starting pitching has gotten a lot better in the second half with some of the young guys, Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez. They got question marks in the bullpen. But so does Texas. I mean, you tell me it's not a scenario you see where game's tight late and then Aroldis Chapman gives up a bomb. I mean, he's made a career out of that. Almost cost the Cubs a World Series.
Yeah, that what I was saying earlier today was when I was looking at that series is that a slight disadvantage to the Orioles because they're really young and inexperienced, but they have the home field advantage, so it gives them some advantage back. I can't really get a pulse on that series as to which way it's going to go. Probably a slight edge to the Orioles because of how good they've played this year, and the Rangers have kind of been hit or miss. You know, they'll put up 8 runs one game and then kind of flop the next. So it's going to be tough. The inexperience is a worry for the Orioles, but I think the home field advantage, like Ed said, the crowd really gets behind you, and that helps a lot and takes a lot of the edge off of your nerves.
I've been to playoff games at Camden Yards. I mean, I've been to a couple of playoff games at Camden Yards. That place gives Citizens Bank Park a run for its money on the crowd being like really into the game and super loud. So I'm going to give the edge fans. I'm going to give the edge to the O's, but again, I feel like it's hard to project this series because you just don't know.
It's really hard.
The O's are going to perform.
Yep.
Yeah, until you see game one. You know, if the Orioles, as long as they get off to a decent start, like if they get behind early, that's where it can snowball for a young team. You know, next thing you know, you find yourself in that hole, and then you go into panic mode, and you lose another one, and then you're kind of just about done.
That's what I think. It's saying its inexperience is a little worrisome.
To Mark,
I think Brandon Hyde will definitely be manager of the year.
To Stove's point in the comment, I just hope they make it entertaining and enjoy it. Because I'm an outsider, right? I don't really care either way, but I'm kind of pulling for the O's just because I think it's awesome that it's back in Baltimore and that fan base can enjoy it. And you know, I think it's just good for baseball in general. So I just hope it's a good, fun series for both teams.
Yeah, it's good to see the old school teams back in. You know, like I grew up in the 70s where towns like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati were powerhouses for 2 straight decades, and then it just flopped, disappeared, went totally to the major market teams in New York's and then the Chicago's and Los Angeles. So it's really, really cool to see Baltimore back in it. You know, I was hoping to see Cincinnati. You know, I grew up with those cities playing well. So I'm really happy for Baltimore to see them back in it. It's great to see those.
Yeah, and it
small
looks
market
like it's
teams.
just the beginning for them because they
Right.
have like an insane amount of talent. Like they have too many prospects in a way,
Eh,
which you can never have too many, but they're going to be able to one. That's a
Oh,
franchise
they're
that should have
loaded.
plenty of money, so they should be able to add a few premium free agents over the next couple years to kind of fit whatever deficiencies they do have, and they have enough talent coming up, enough talent still down in the farm that they can package a few guys together to make some deals to kind of fix things. So they
Don't
should
they
be
have?
pretty good for a while.
Is Jackson Holiday on their farm?
Yeah, he went from single A to triple A. He'd
It's
probably be up
another,
next year.
yeah,
Top
another
prospect in
young, yeah,
baseball.
there's another young stud coming up.
They're totally loaded, the Orioles. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous the amount of young talent that they have. I mean, they could be scary good if they sign a couple key pieces, if they actually spend some money. And I don't know if I was mentioning it earlier. I think Brandon Hyde will definitely be manager of the year in the American League this year, without a doubt.
Yeah, I would think so.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't get it. But one more thing I want to bring up, if he's still in here, Baseball Collector, I watched his recent video, and he said he was not watching the Rangers. He didn't watch any of the Rangers Rays series. That's a
Clearly,
violation,
he's never watched a
That's a
West Virginia
violation.
video.
Foul.
One of Ed's biggest sayings is watch the
Hashtag
games,
watch the games.
not follow the games on your app.
That's a foul.
He said he was checking on his phone. Come on, man. Come on. It's not every day the Rangers are in the playoffs, my man. You got to watch them when they're there.
I can't imagine not watching my team in playoffs. I just can't fathom it. So I'm
No.
out.
We're shaming Baseball Collector. This is the part of the live stream where we shame him.
I mean, I definitely get the, being a little nervous and superstitious, but you got to do something where you like, I don't know, you sit in the same place or you do something that's, you sit in some way that's uncomfortable, but
Yeah,
to not
wear the
watch
same
the game.
underwear, whatever you got to do.
yeah, wear the same underwear for 3 weeks if you have to.
By the way, what I'm doing for this series, no, never.
Then okay, what's the other series we got? We got the D-backs and the Dodgers. We got Pepino Man versus I don't think there's
Diamond
any
Yard.
D-backs collectors. Diamond
Yeah,
Yard. Okay.
George Diamond Yard.
Pepino versus Diamond Yard. So what do we got there? What are we thinking?
Well,
Mookie Betts
Kershaw
versus
starting
Cordero.
game one of the greatest pitchers in our lifetime who has been terrible in the playoffs. So I can't, who knows? Dodgers, I think, can get out to an early lead, but, that those two, Merrill, Kelly, and Zach Allen are really good.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Who's
another
after
one of those.
Kershaw?
It's another divisional matchup. So they're teams that know each other. I don't know the season series offhand. I'm sure someone in the chat might know it, but I would assume the Diamondbacks played them pretty tough. Diamondbacks, had a big lead early. Dodgers came charging back. Dodgers lineups loaded. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, two of the best hitters in baseball. And then they have a long lineup as well. But their starter, I mean, they've taken a beating this year.
With injuries.
At the starting staff. I mean, Bueller missed the entire year. Kershaw's been hit or miss. You got the other good starting pitcher, one of the better free agents this year, who's a horse's ass, and he's not available
Urias?
for the series.
Yeah, he gone. He gone.
So, like Bobby Miller is a really good young arm, but he's young, so you don't really know what you're going to get there. Kershaw, the veteran who has had some success in the postseason, but he's also had a lot of well-documented struggles. I don't know. The Diamondbacks are like playing with house money. Like they really don't have anything to lose. They've arrived a year early, maybe 2 years early. They have some dynamic, good players. This is Corbin Carroll's chance to really be on the national stage even more so. Because I got to be honest, I don't know what the ratings were, but I got to imagine the Brewers Diamondbacks didn't pull in a huge viewership, but now he's going up against the Dodgers. He'll be playing in prime time. Like, if I were a Dodgers fan, I'd be nervous as hell, to be honest. I certainly think the Dodgers are quite capable of winning it, but Arizona, if they won it, Would not shock me in the
Yeah, it
least.
wouldn't surprise me because every year the Dodgers are always this great regular season team, and they, I don't know, they kind of flop in the
That's why I don't
playoffs.
understand this. If you look at what Mark said about the odds, the D-backs are plus 1,400. 1,400. And I'm like, dude,
That's to win
they're good.
the
Did you
round
watch
or the
them
World
play the
Series.
Brewers? I think that's
Is
to
that-
win the World Series. I don't think they should be the
Ed would hate it, but
last
the
team
best
there.
bet there, if you're just looking at the odds, the best bet there
I
is
know
the
what you're going to
Astros.
say. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. It's the
Betting
truth,
money.
though. I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
They have
because they're the
They
team
got-
who's done it year in and year out, and I don't want to say they have an easy path because the Twins are good, and then they're going to have to play Texas or the Orioles, but like they have probably the easiest path in comparison to the other favored teams.
Ed, if you bet on the Astros, please don't tell me. I don't want
that'd be like
Oh.
sign your soul to the
Yeah, I
devil.
don't.
I'm sure Mattress Mac put a cool couple million on
Oh
that.
God, don't mention that, dude. I had enough of him in the World Series last year.
Oh my gosh.
Can someone just please bounce the Astros? Can the Twins please
Please, Twins.
just bounce the Astros, please?
It
Get him
could
outta here.
happen. The Twins could
Please.
knock them off. The Twins can knock them off. I'm not saying they will, but they can. They're
More than the I'm not going to root for the Astros, and I like the Twins, but the biggest reason I want the Astros to lose is for the mental sanity of Ed, because I really worry about the poor guy sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I just want him to be able to, put that to bed for at least this year.
It's true.
This brings up a point that we were talking about in our private chat. What would be the least desirable matchup in the World Series? I'm telling you right now, if the World Series is the Braves versus the Astros, I'm not watching the World
God.
Series. And that'll be the first time since 2010 that I have not watched a World Series. If those are the two teams, I'm not watching. I'm not watching. I'm out. Peace. I'm out. Not watching the game.
For Major League Baseball, though, what would be the probably Twins Diamondbacks would be what they would least want for their little ratings wise.
Right.
The worst would have been Marlins Rays. Can you imagine that? Holy
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
It wouldn't
Combined
even,
attendance
I would
is
probably go to
30,000.
that World Series. I'd be like, shit, I'll go to a World Series game for
That
$80.
sounds, yeah, absolutely.
Go to a
that's
Florida
terrible.
card show.
See? Dollar
There you
hot
go.
dog World Series. Get some guys in there.
Can you imagine if that did happen though? A Rays Marlins World Series? Oh my God.
No.
You could probably walk up to the box office and get a ticket.
It still makes me sick that the Marlins have won 2 World Series and they've never even won a division title in franchise history. Not one single time.
Wow.
Phillies
That's
were the
pretty
first team
mind-boggling.
to ever beat them in a regulation season in the postseason. They had lost in the playoffs before. They got knocked out in the second round in 2020, but that was obviously an expanded field kind of, crazy season.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and that's the one we didn't touch on was the Twins Astros. But I think we were kind of talking a little bit about that's the other matchup, the final one. But hopefully the Twins pitching just shows up. Stuke's in here. I know he's a Twins fan. Twins have 2 aces and a good bullpen.
I mean, the good thing for the
Royce
Twins
Lewis.
is they I feel a little bit similar to the Phillies last year. The Phillies getting in the playoffs kind of took the monkey off the back, something that was some pressure, even though most of the players in the team hadn't been there for a ton of time. Obviously, a few of them overlapped a few years, but it was like such a focus and the question like, hey, you guys going to break this, 13, 14-year streak of not making the postseason? And now that the Twins have finally won a playoff series for the first time in decades, again, they're kind of playing with nothing to lose, and they got that momentum going. So, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest positives for them. They can just kind of play freely. And, again, if they execute, they're perfectly capable of beating this Astros team. This Astros team isn't their greatest team. That being said, year in and year out, they find their way to the ALCS and more times than not to the World Series. But, hopefully the Twins just kind of show up and play and, stay healthy and, are able to get things going.
Huh. Well, if the Astros
I
win,
forgot to ask this, but I was going to say, is anyone? Well, I guess it would just be either Reese Ray, since Alex, you're farther away. Anyone going to an NLDS game?
I don't know. Did they do their little lottery for tickets? Like I registered for it, but I never heard anything.
I haven't heard anything yet, and
This
haven't
year
checked.
was very tough with the tickets. Last year, the division series was very easy to get tickets to. I mean, I probably could have bought more. I didn't end up being able to attend the game that I was intending to go to, but obviously I was able to go to NLCS. Even that wasn't horrendous. Like, I mean, they obviously sold out, but it wasn't impossible to get tickets. This year, the freaking wild card series, like, it was impossible. And he had to register for these following rounds. I don't know if they've sent out opportunities to buy stuff or not, but the secondhand prices are kind of outrageous right now.
Yeah, just to give people some perspective, like the cheapest ticket for one of the wild card games, either game 1 or game 2, the cheapest ticket was like $225, I think, for standing room. So, I mean, compare the next cheapest ticket for like the other series, I think might have been the Twins. I think it was like $40, like $33 or something like that. So that just goes to show you like the price discrepancy there. Like Philly fans are paying top dollar to go to these games, and they're like completely shelling out like 46,000 people there.
Yeah, did you see the attendance for this year?
Which, yeah, it was 46,000 for both nights, I believe. But if you remember,
for the Phillies for the season, we hit 3 million.
Yeah, they had a good year.
I didn't see that.
3 million.
Well, attendance in baseball was up. I think it was up close to 10% across the board. So baseball's in, I think, a pretty good spot. I think it's become a little more regional in terms of national attention, but I mean, it gets good viewership in most markets locally, and people are attending games and all that stuff. So I feel bad for people who aren't enjoying, watching and enjoying the playoffs because
watch the games.
It's been fun.
I mean, even last year, the games last year were just utterly incredible. I mean, there was so much drama in a lot of the games. Like, not even the Phillies games, even the Padres, the Gooses lose. there was
oh my god!
There was a lot of great.
I got the card.
There were so many great games, and even who the Astros had a walk off. Who did they have a walk off against in the division series?
The Mariners.
That's
right.
The
Mariners ended their season basically by bringing in Robbie Ray for no reason.
Right.
And I was going to live bet it, and I didn't. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what I just expected to have happen. Boom. If not for that, I mean, the Mariners played them tough. They blew it with 2 outs in the 9th, and then they lost, an 18-inning game against them. So the Mariners had a chance to knock them off, and then perhaps the Phillies would have been world champions. But, oh well.
Oh, hopefully nobody leans into pitches like this year. Can we have a postseason where nobody gets on top of the plate and takes their entire body?
Someone did the other day, didn't they? Didn't a Marlins guy didn't he get a called strike on him? Stuck his arm out. Was that in the playoff game? I can't remember now.
I didn't see that.
I don't recall that. I recall last year happening.
Maybe that was towards the end of the season in a game. I don't remember, but I know someone called a strike on that. He bounced off the guy's shoulder, but he stuck it out there right over the plate.
But yeah, the postseason has been the last couple of years. The postseason has just been incredible. There's been a lot of great moments, so that's why I always stress to people. I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything, but if you love baseball and if you love collecting cards and like, I mean, for me, like collecting sports cards is just an extension of my fandom because I'm just a baseball fanatic and I'm a Phillies fanatic. So that's just an extension of my fandom, the card collecting. That's how I view card collecting. So whenever I'm like, oh, I'll say it at the end of my videos, watch the games, like especially this time of the year, like, come on, guys, this is like the reason why we collect.
Then in the off season, I'd like to see Ed start watching some of these old 1950s games on YouTube. That way, he can start collecting some of these dead guys.
There you go.
There we go.
He does.
Hey, my Puddinhead run. My
Puddinhead.
Puddinhead run too. Good, man.
Puddinhead Jones.
Puddinhead Jones.
Puddinhead Jones, man, he's smiling from the heavens watching these playoff games.
You got to listen to some of the broadcasts. There have been times where I've just put on like random. Every now and then, you can find like old. It's not full games usually. It's like bits and pieces, but just old radio broadcasts. And I got Puddinhead Jones coming to the plate. Like, man.
Wasn't that this year that Stott broke his record?
Yeah, the hitting streak to start the season, right?
Yeah, and they asked him about it. I was like, yeah, I don't know who that is.
Someone's going to send Stott a TTM and say, please watch Wesker Griff's channel. You'll learn about Puddinhead.
Yes, Stott's Puddin Jr., man. He's a little Puddin Jr. One of my favorite moments at the ballpark this year. By the way, I went to like 5 games this year, and there was 4 walk-off wins. 4 walk-off wins. That's pretty incredible to go to 5 games and see 4 walk-offs.
Yeah.
Well, if desperation comes, it's going to be time to start a GoFundMe for Ed. Get him to the game.
But the one game that I left, there was a dude wearing like a 1960, like mid-60s Clay Dalrymple jersey. I was an old guy, like pretty up there. And I walked by him. I'm like, yo, I love your jersey, but Granny Hamner was better, bro.
That's a great way to start a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you made a friend there, Ed.
Right, like who the fuck's this guy?
I guarantee later that night or the next day, yeah, this young punk was talking shit on Clay.
Granny Hamner.
Granny Hamner sucked.
I was watching some highlights yesterday, but what is your favorite like playoff, moment in Phillies? Of any of the playoff games in like that you've seen? Because my came to mind immediately, but I'm curious like what your favorite playoff moment was.
Like ever, all time, recent years,
yeah,
person.
Like since the last World Championship to now, like from 2008 to like now. Just curious what each of yours is. Because mine is partly, the look off and throw to home to get Bartlett at home. Like for some reason, it's like my favorite play. Don't ask me why, but that's one of my favorite moments ever. So
for me, it's the Harper's homer last year against the Padres.
Yeah, that was incredible.
That was huge.
There's no way, right? It's got to be when you tap Pete Rose on the back.
No,
that's not recently.
Reese said since 2008.
Recent, yeah.
Yeah, for me, anything in 1980, any moment that year. But from 2008 till now, last year's Harper homer, without a doubt.
Huge.
Yeah, got to be the Harper. If it's recent Harper homer.
For me, it's 2009. Jimmy Rollins. Was it?
Yeah.
Against the Dodgers, the walk-off.
Yeah.
That was just
off Broxton again.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was like, okay, this
That's
is
a good one, yeah.
another level. Like they're playing on some level that you can't put stats against. They're just like destined to go.
Yeah, that's the only thing that would have made the Harper home run a little sweeter would have been if that was in the bottom of the ninth, where it's just like you're like, shit, you're gonna lose. Boom, you win in that moment. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's so hard, like because I've been to. I've been very lucky to be at some of the greatest moments in Phillies playoff history. Like I was at the Victorino Grand Slam game, which was like,
oh wow,
I was there.
Like holy hell, like I can't believe this is happening. Like, game 1 of the NLCS in '08. I was at game 5, parts 1 and 2. So I was there for that Utley play. Was there for that final pitch. I was at Roy Halladay's no-hitter in the postseason, which was like, oh
that's
my
another
God.
one. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so,
Well, you were at the Harper
and
review,
then,
weren't you?
and then last year,
Yeah.
like,
Bedlam at
that
the
moment
bar.
was just like, again, the years where it comes completely out of nowhere. Kind of last year was kind of like 93, but 93 was like holy, like, what are they doing in spring training to, oh my gosh, they're off to a 7-1 start, and they did it all year.
Yeah.
And then last year was kind of condensed into that month where it was like, I can't believe this is happening, and it had
Snuck
been
in
so
and-
long.
Yeah.
But yeah, last year, I mean, again, it's recent memory, but like the Harper home run, like I remember, like when you have moments like that, especially when you like, I remember, there's 364 days in a year. Like, a lot of days are lost. You live your day and you completely forget maybe every moment from it. But like that day, I can remember so many, like the entire day, like I like vividly,
That's
because
awesome.
I met my brother. My brother had driven up from Maryland. I met him. I remember my nephew was in the car with him, and then his wife like drove off to go see other family, and like me and my brother drove right down Broad Street, and like we get there, and just I walking around the stadium. The stadium was packed, like it was ridiculous in Ashburn Alley, like you couldn't move. I think Kelsey was there making a riot, so people were going crazy. And then obviously the whole game, like Hoskins hit the home run early, they're leading, you're feeling pretty good, they're on the cusp of winning the pennant, the rain starts falling, freaking Josh Bell, who was he was the scariest guy in the Marlins lineup because that guy just always murders the Phillies, and he even played well in this series. He ended up, being a part of it and then the wild pitches where all of a sudden the Padres are in the lead, and you're like, all right, well, they're still up 3-1, but you don't want to go back to San Diego, and like that, and just being in the crowd, like I can still like remember every moment of that. Him swinging the laser hit from the angle I was at. I was like, that's going to split the gaps. And then like, it's weird how you can break down 1 or 2 seconds can feel like a long length of time in those moments. And then I like look at Harper. I'm like, oh my God, he thinks he got it. And then you look back up and you just see the ball sailing. And then when you see it go over the fence and the crowd, like everyone around you seeing everything in the vantage point from being behind home plate and elevate it, you see everything that goes on, and just looking down and seeing it and the dugout and the players on the field, like that was like, that's a moment that a year later I can remember every second of that. So
my favorite part of that is the background of the dugout when he's going down there jumping.
Oh,
I can watch it 100 times.
The video yearbook, like I will every now and then just put that on just to watch the beginning, and then I'll sometimes fast forward to the end just to watch like the little montages they do with just seeing that, like Hoskins jumping out,
Segura,
Segura.
Oh,
it's absolutely incredible.
Was Taylor Swift there?
Who gives a shit? But she was at the '08 World Series. She sang
Really?
the
Was
national. She sang the national.
Yeah, we
anthem,
joke about that. She was at the 08
One of
World
those
Series. She sang the national anthem.
And that's what's hard to believe. That was 15 years ago. So
Holy
you
crap.
start to forget, like, she's been around for an eternity. I don't know how old she is. I guess she's probably
Late 30s.
But yeah, she sang because then she was popular, but not nearly as well known as she is now. So
We need more Taylor Swift at the ball games.
well, we can pretty much guarantee that Ed, after this live stream, will be going on YouTube watching that rendition of, the national anthem from Citizens Bank Park.
And so will
What
Travis
game
Kelce.
was that? I can't even remember.
It was probably the first home playoff. I mean, I went to game 5. I don't remember who said it that, but I'd assume it was game 3, but it could have been 4. I don't know. It wasn't the one I was at. Ed, a little investment question for you real quick. What's your investment thoughts on Topanga Tops Now cards in Phillies jerseys?
Good question.
I'm sure the
Missed out on
autographs
the
will
autographs.
be-
Did you look up the
Yeah.
autographs? They're going for like $200.
No, it's probably like 400. It's probably like, I would say it's doubled. It's probably like $400. How much?
I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but should
They're
have bought
probably
some.
like $400.
That Stott autograph from today was awesome.
Yeah, that did sell out fairly quickly. I was able to secure
Like-
one for Wesker Griff. Hopefully he
Oh, good.
pays up, though. The only
If
problem
not,
with
you'll
the
be able-
autograph versions
the
of the
quickest
Top Now
flip ever.
cards, you don't know when it's going to come.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it could come early in the offseason, or like a lot of Harper stuff was delayed last year because he obviously had the elbow surgery and such. Stott doesn't sign a crazy amount, so I would hope he'd be somewhat quick, but it's going to be a few months most likely before it shows up. Unfortunately, the credit card bill will be here, in a few weeks, but
It's on the Mike O card shop tab.
what up, Nate?
By the way, we'll finish on this. We'll be wrapping this up soon, but remember last year during the World Series, the cheapest ticket to get into the World Series was like $1,300 for standing room.
In
$1,300.
Philadelphia, not Houston.
In Philly. They had things here on the local news where they broke it down. It was cheaper to fly to Houston, get a hotel for the night, fly back, and get a ticket for the game than go get 2 tickets for the Phillies game.
In your own town.
In your own
It's
town.
crazy.
That's
Well, I
unreal.
remember that in 08. 08 was pretty pricey, maybe not to the same level, but I remember legitimately looking into going to game 1 down in Tampa Bay, and the hotels were like $80 a night, plane ticket, because the last minute was maybe a little pricier, but I mean, it was probably only like $200, $250 round trip. And the World Series ticket was like $50. Like, it was a joke.
Hmm.
It's just sports is big, but it's bigger in certain places. Like I said, there's diehard fans across the country, across the world, but there's just certain areas, specifically the Northeast, where it's just bigger. It just is. There's more people who give a shit in certain areas than other areas.
What it comes down to. Yeah.
Like, that's just the reality of it. And not to say that certain areas will become spoiled, like eventually a wild card series or an NLDS, ALDS is hyped. If a team plays in it every year, like Yankees, if you want to go to a Yankees playoff game, years are in it. World Series is always going to be very expensive, but like division series, you could probably buy them on the secondary market for a very slight markup compared to the direct price. Sometimes even, if it's last minute or if things aren't going well, sometimes you can get them even cheaper because they're there so often.
I think we're going to finish on this with Topps 85-401. Schwarber had the most fascinating season ever for 2023.
Well, let's hope that
Schmidt's boy,
fascinating
Kyle
season
Schwarber.
keeps going.
Yeah, it's not over. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's due.
By the way, he did have a historic season this year, Kyle Schwarber. He broke the all-time single-season record for walks for the Phillies. So just think about that. The Phillies have been around since the Civil War, and Kyle Schwarber is now the all-time franchise leader in walks. I'm not sure who he beat out.
Probably
Puddinhead.
Dykstra.
Probably Puddinhead.
I think it was Dykstra. Dykstra in 93 had a ton
Yeah,
of walks.
it's got to be Dykstra. I also love watching Schwarber run the bases. It's like Babe Ruth.
Oh my God! It's like
so hilarious.
you're yelling, run, and he's
I think
he's just like this.
He looks like a cartoon character.
God,
you guys, I texted. I said when he was running the bases, I hear Chris Berman in my head, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, running the whole thing.
that's the truth, man.
I hear it in my head every time.
Hey, he's a singles doubles hitter in the postseason so far.
Yeah, I'll take it.
How many singles did he have this season? I mean, I think he had more.
He had more
47
homers than-
Not that many.
I think he ended up having a few too many singles late. So
Okay.
I think he had 48 singles.
47.
48
I-
single,
yeah,
48
I
or
heard he
49
was-
singles, 47 homers, 19 doubles, and I
It's
think he
amazing.
might have.
No, I
somehow
thought he had
a
more
triple.
homers than singles.
I think
I
he
heard
ended
in the
up
last
having
week
two
of the
more
season
singles.
he had more homers, but he might have changed that at the
Flipped it.
last
Okay. It
weekend.
was close. Amazing.
That's just unreal to have more homers than
I did not order any Bowman Chrome Megas. I thought about it, but I did not order any. And I tried to order some Bob Ross things. Those things were like impossible to get, and now everyone's selling them for like $400 a box on eBay.
You
It's
trying to flip
ridiculous.
some Bob Ross?
Mackerel.
You trying to flip
I just
some
thought they
sealed
were
Bob
going to
Ross
be
boxes?
beautiful looking cards, and honestly, I thought the singles would do pretty well. But
What are you going to flip them to? Bob Lewis?
$200, you couldn't get them. Sold out.
No, but we need that money for the Phillies top now cards. That's what we need that for. Oh,
Yeah, well, if you want me to be able to buy Phillies Tops Now cards, you're going to have to go buy some of this mosaic football bullshit I listed on eBay. So.
all right. Well, that'll be it. Ray, Mike, Reese, Alex, thanks guys for jumping on. I really appreciate it.
Any
Looking forward to the
predictions?
games.
Predictions of the
I don't want to give
NLDS?
predictions. No predictions.
Come on.
We don't need someone in the chat betting their mortgage money on.
We're sticking
our
with that
predictions.
Marlins Texas Rangers World Series.
Yeah. But thanks guys for coming on. Really appreciate it. And
Cool.
I think
Thanks,
we
Ed.
should finish it by saying watch the game.
The game.
Watch the games.
On TBS for the NL, and I believe Fox for the AL.